been here a lot. I think we've been coming here since 2003, I think was the first time, so feels like a second home. It's great. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I'm bored of that out of you,
So, come on, let's be honest. We do have some fans in the room. Who's only here because you're a fan? Yeah, that's like, Wang's like, yeah, one big fan, yeah. Why are you not on your knees? No, I'm just joking. Oh, stop! I'm like that about you, aren't I? Exactly. This is the best singer in Singapore.
Yes.
Yeah, that one there.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So like that, why you're there.
But then, what do I know?
There's another one there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what the fuck do I know? Anyway, Eric, you've also been here as well, because every time the band's been here, you've been here.
Pretty much every time the band's been here, I think. Maybe once or twice, they were here without me.
He has to build up his air miles, so he always
Exactly.
Yeah.
I only go to the great cities.
This is one of them.
To me.
Yeah, and you also come here as well on other activities. Obviously, education, we've talked about this before. You were here in January.
I was here in January. We found a panel with you that you moderated. And we talked a lot about the differences between the Canadian music industry and the Singapore music industry, and about government funding, and about how to help and support artists, and how that evolution was in Canada. And we spoke a lot about what's close to me is trying to educate young artists to look out for themselves, look out for their own brand, and build up their own career. Simple Plans to find a testament to the type of artist that you should be. Try to go around over time.
Chuck, we had a very quick conversation. We've known each other for a short time, but we had a quick conversation about what was life like before Simple Plan, when you was a spotty 13-year-old boy. Did you have spots?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I started playing music when I was 13 years old. And it's funny, Pierre is the lead singer in Simple Plan, and I started our first band here at 13. So we've been pretty much playing for 19 years together. It's obviously a long time ago, but I think it just goes to show you that these kind of, it takes time, and you have to be perseverant. So I'm sure we'll touch on that.
Actually, about perseverance, I mean, you could have given up. There were moments when you thought about not doing this anymore, or there was never a moment that you was ever going to give this up.
Well, I think it's funny. I think when you start, you don't necessarily think about careers and all that. I think for us, when we started when we were 13, it was about having fun. We basically, it's funny, our French teacher, I have no idea why, in high school, we all went to high school together. He came up to me and Pierre was like, you guys should be in a band together. And I didn't play any instrument. We had a bass player that was in our class, and Pierre was playing guitar, and I didn't play anything, so I guess I'm like, okay, I guess I'll be the drummer. We're missing a drummer. And we started playing. It was all about jamming in my parents' basement, and I'm not sure why, but right away we decided to write our own songs. We didn't really have a goal at first. It was just about having a good time. But pretty fast, we played at high school. We played they had this talent show at lunchtime, and that was the first time we ever walked on stage. And I guess from there we just loved it, and we just this is what we want to do. And I guess I've always been very an ambitious kind of person. So right away I was like, okay, we gotta play a bigger show. So next show was at our friend's house in the basement. So that was a step up from school. And the next show was our bass player's house. And then the next show was opening up for Face to Face, which was one of our idols from California, a big punk rock band from back in the day. And from there, it just never stopped. The next show was opening up for Lagwagon, then it was Pennywise, and then Warped Tour. Then we went on our first Canadian tour. Then we found our first record on a small indie label, Cargo Records, back in the day. And from there, that was our first band, and then we moved on to Simple Plan. But yeah, there's definitely moments where it feels a little harder, but for us, giving up was never an option. It was this is what we love to do. We don't want to have a normal job. We want to be doing this every day.
Eric, how do you handle an artist that's been, maybe put down and has a lack of confidence? You see a lot of artists from around the world. Obviously artists in Canada. There must be a lot of people that come to you that are very it's the end of the world, and they're about to give up. You see a talent, and you think, right, how do we actually bring them out of that? How do we get them back onto the path of being a great artist?
I try to tell the story of Simple Plan. I'll tell you, from my perspective, how our relationship started with Simple Plan. There was a guy who was calling our office saying, I'm the manager of this band, Simple Plan, and we've got some great songs, but we need some help, we need a real management company. was bugging people in my office, like sending them music. And finally, the two people that this guy was talking to, who worked for me, Davey and Julian, came to myself and Rob, my partner, said, you know what, there's this guy who's calling the office. They got kind of good songs, like maybe you should check them out. So I'm like, fine, bring them to Toronto. They're from Montreal. Bring them to Toronto, it's like a 5-hour drive. We'll set them up in the studio, we'll put the whole office in front of them, and they're probably going to suck, and then we can say, now stop bugging us and go. And sure enough, these guys showed up, and one or two of them hardly spoke English at all. And they set up and they played in front of us. And if any of you have seen Simple Plan, I know some of you have, what you see now is what we saw then. It's like, wow, there's something here, there's something special. And which was even more impressive, the guy who was calling our office was him.
I was the fake manager. Yes.
Fake manager.
Well, actually, it's funny. Like the guy who signed us in the end, our A&R for a long time. He was at Lava. He signed Kid Rock, and I actually got him on the phone and tricked him into thinking I was a manager because I called him up and I'm like, hey, I'm Charles Talbot, which is my mom's last name. So and I'm like, I got this great band from Montreal. They got a huge buzz. We had nothing going on. Honestly, we were like playing in our basement, doing demos, and they're selling out venues and they're great. You have to hear them. And to his credit, like I probably called 55 people like that, a record label at Interscope, at A&M, and all these labels, and he's one of the only guy who picked up the phone and got past the assistant. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually going to talk to Andy Cart. Wow, I had no idea who he was, and then he actually talked. He's like, yeah, I'd love to hear it. Send it to me. So the same day, I sent him to a big package from FedEx and sent it to him. And the next morning, I call him up and I'm like, hey Andy, have you had a chance to listen to it? And again, he's like, yeah, actually I did. And I fell off my chair because most people, they get a package, just throw it away. And he actually did listen to it. He's like, I like it. I think you guys are great. I'd love to see you live. So now it was like, okay, we never really played any shows. How the hell do we play live for this guy? And then we hooked up with Eric, and then we played for Andy in Toronto at this thing called North by Northeast, which is kind of like a Music Matters, music conference. And he was like, hey, you guys are pretty good. I'm not sure yet. Let me, I'd love to see you guys again maybe in 6 months. We'll see what happens. So obviously for us, it's like, it's kind of a bummer. You feel like every show is like, it has to happen now. Everybody's impatient. We were the most impatient. You want it to happen now, But we kept on practicing. We added David to the lineup, so we kind of tweaked a little bit our band. We added a bass player that could do harmonies, and Pierre finally can move around the stage and be like a full frontman. And then next thing you know, we booked a second showcase for Andy, and he saw us, and that's a pretty good story too, I'll tell you after, but he saw us and he's like, the next day he called Rob and Eric and he's like, let's make a record, and we had a record deal, but that took probably 2 years, 3 years of, us working 2 jobs, trying to pay for our demos, bugging this guy and his company to manage us, bugging everybody really, it was a full-time job, to call everyone, to just try to get noticed.
Graham, to answer your original question, how do you encourage an outlaw artist? It's like that's why we like to tell this story. Like our Chuck tell this story. It's like people, if you're a young artist, people will pay attention. They'll listen to you if you're polite, kind, you hand them your music. That door's open to most people that you can bump into in the music business, except for the few dicks who are out there and they're out there. But you can reach them. But at some point, your stuff has to be played. Your performing act, or your songs, or you have to figure out how to do it. Even these guys, they got like this far and realized like maybe we need another element to our band, and they put in another guy who was another singing voice as well, and that sort of pushed it over. So is it hard work? Yes. Is perseverance work? Yes.
You present that too, that they actually found this themselves, yeah.
And this is what impresses us about this band, is that they understood from the beginning. They understood their brand. They understood what they needed to do, and they always have. They continue to. It's a testament to Chuck in particular, who gets it. And the best and most successful artists are the ones that surround themselves with a good family, but they drive the bus. The band has to drive the bus on their career. The rest of us are following and keeping up and making sure that all the relationships and all the business they do is strong now.
And I would say, to add to what you said, I think that